What's going on, guys? Got another knife review here for you. Today we're going to be looking at the Will Moon Mark 6. Will Moon, as you guys know from Jim Skelton's videos, is a custom maker. I think really made popular from Skelton, but I think he made a name for himself as well, doing a lot of custom work, a lot of modification jobs, a lot of scale work. I was really impressed early on by the stuff that I saw from Will, and I contacted him a number of times about the possibility of doing work. Unfortunately, I was never able to secure a job with him, due to his popularity. He started getting pretty big and started doing his own folders and stuff like that, and so demand for him got pretty high. And so but yeah, I was really intrigued by all the work that he did. So it was really cool to see him develop as a knife maker. And Will, based on all of our conversations through email, is a really nice guy. So anyway, so we'll see. I have numerous opinions about this knife. He did actually see this on my Instagram and said that it is an older version, so I have to take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, overall, I'm actually pretty impressed with this knife. I actually like it quite a bit. There are a couple of design things that maybe I'm a little bit, I don't know, iffy about or whatnot, but I will preface this review by saying that I do think that this is a good knife and Will is a good maker. And no matter what happened with, Jim's knife with the Juma stuff in there and whatnot, Will takes care of his own. And one of the things that's most impressive, and I think a lot of custom makers do this, but I think Will really tries to go above and beyond to satisfy the customer. I just remember a warranty video that he made that's like, you know what, as long as I'm alive and making knives, like, I'm gonna take care of any modification job and then knives as well. So I'm gonna take care of all those things for you. So anyway, if you guys remember, a while back, Will started, I think his first knives were the Orion butterfly knives. These just ginormous butterfly knives, really intricate designs, a lot of glow dots and powders and stuff like that he used. Really fantastic grinds. So that was really impressive. And then he started getting into folders and started off with his Mark 12, which was an integral version of the Mark 6, essentially. Haven't seen any of those go on sale in the secondary market, so I'm assuming that the people that got those are really happy with them or just waiting to see the prices skyrocket on those knives. So I'm not sure what it is. But afterwards, I think due to the complexity of making integrals, started making the Mark 6s, and then the popularity of these knives kind of just took off. And he's been doing Mark 6s, and now he's doing his runs of Mark 7s. So you can tell by where it's at when I'm doing this review, because I'm so backlogged. I'm uploading these reviews maybe like months after the fact. But this is towards the end of February when I'm basing all this information. So anyway, Mark 6, obviously, you're 2 slabs of titanium. He pretty much does any kind of scale outside of carbon fiber, because Will is allergic to carbon fiber. His skin reacts pretty severely to it. So G10, micarta, kieranite, all these different kinds of materials. I don't think he's ever really done titanium scales though, but he's done things as intricate as Timascus and Mokutai and all those things as well. So overall, you are talking about a honking huge knife. I was taken aback at how big this knife was. Not taken aback as in like in a bad way. I was surprised at how incredibly huge this knife. Almost kind of like how I was surprised at how big the 0600 was. You know, overall length, gosh, I don't know how big it is. Yeah, I don't want to measure it, but it's over 9 inches, probably 9.5, almost 10 inches long. And, you know, so you can see how it compares to the 600, barely shorter than the 600. But it does have a shorter blade as well. And I think that's one of the things that stood out to me. You know, I think in pictures, when you look at it in camera, it doesn't look like it's that off. You know, the handle doesn't look like it's that much bigger than the blade. But it's when you hold it this way. I have to get my, you have to see this. So here's my J. Kobach A10. This knife is almost as, I'm sorry, this is the A15, is almost as thick in terms of the titanium scales, like how wide it is. Just out of interest. So for my calipers right here, so 711 thou thick on the A15. 695 thou. I know it's upside down, but 695 thou, you know, at its thickest point here. So that's almost, you know, as thick as the Kobach A15. And I mean, you know, the Kobachs are monster knives. So now the thing with this though is it's so thick at the pivot, but as it goes down towards the butt of the blade or butt of the handle, then it tapers down to a really, really thin width, you know. So it's, yeah, so it makes for a really interesting feel in hand. The blade itself is 185 thou thick, so that's as thick as a Hinder XM24. So yeah, I don't know what it is. In video, when I was looking at the knife, I was like, oh, that's a really slim, that's a really slim folder. But in reality, this is a ginormous knife. Long knife, thick knife, and then, you know, it does taper to here. So in pocket, you know, at the bottom of the pocket, it sits thick down here, but near the top where you're grabbing it is actually relatively thin. He's got these billet titanium clip that came with this knife. It also came with a G10 one as well, a black G10 one that matches the backspacer here, which consequently has a lanyard loop that's all milled out from the CNC machine. So this is all CNC machine. I believe the blades though are hand ground, if I'm not mistaken. You can see, you know, some of the, I don't want to say mistakes, but you know, kind of the rough around the edges on the spine. You can see where, you know, it's not completely even and stuff like that. So some of the custom aspects of the knife, but you know, the grind in general is pretty nice. There's some parts that are a little bit off, but I'm not sure if it's because of the previous owner that sharpened it or what. Not the swedge, but you know, near the edge bevel. So yeah, so you can see how wide that edge bevel is right there. So yeah, it's unfortunate when people don't know how to sharpen knives. It kind of ruins the aesthetic sometimes. But anyway, so overall feel of the knife is actually pretty nice. Now there's a couple of things now when I get into this knife, and take it with a grain of salt, because again, this is, according to Will, one of the earlier releases of his Mark 6. A lot of finish issues, you know, between the G10, you know, where it doesn't match up perfectly with the titanium. Here you can see a gap. I mean, I can stick my nail in there in terms of how it's secured to, I mean, it's only secured by 2 screws. So I know for aesthetic purposes, you know, he probably wants to avoid having too many screws there. But, you know, if this if you had another screw somewhere here, then that would, you know, secure that scale. I mean, you can even see the screws that are there to secure the titanium liners together right there. So, and then the other thing is the pocket clip. I don't know if the newer ones are smoother here, but the pocket clip is extremely sharp here and catches on everything. So really, really rough here. I've thought about smoothing it out, but haven't really gotten to do that. And then the last thing, well, not last thing, actually, there's there's a couple other things. This flipper was extremely sharp, and I had to round it down with some sandpaper just to smooth out these edges, because it was just digging into my finger. And the detent is so hard, it fires out like a rocket, but the detent is so hard that when I was pushing down and putting the pressure down, it was just digging and cutting into my finger. I mean, not cutting the skin, but I mean, very different from, say, the flipping action on the ZT right here. You know, obviously this is not gonna flip like a RJ Martin, but I mean, I can still flip it out really fast. And these, the lines on here are all smooth. You know, it's rounded here on the flipper. It's a smaller flipper. And then even the, you know, even these parts around here are rounded. So it's very comfortable and it comes out extremely easily. The Pohan Liu was the same way. It was really, really rough, really, really sharp around here. And it just hurt to dig out. I mean, that just scratched up my finger, you know, and so I had to pull from the side here, and then it fires out like a cannon. But these two similarly, like the detent, you know, it makes it fire out like crazy. But again, just when the flipper is too sharp, then it just really digs into the finger. Other things that, you know, I had to tune the knife up, kind of tighten the lock bar a little bit, just because there was so much blade play, vertical blade play on this knife. I greased it up, greased up the bearings, tightened up the lock bar ever so slightly, just so that it would push further along the tang. Right now it's engaged at about 50%, and there is no, now it's pretty much rock solid. I can get maybe the tiniest bit of wiggle. I could tighten the lock bar a little bit too if I wanted to, but right now I think it's tuned up to where it feels pretty good, really good in hand. And then you know, there's moderate stick right there. I didn't carbonize the titanium either, because I don't want to modify it too much where, you know, it'd void the warranty or anything like that. But I know it sounds like a lot of different issues, and again, maybe it's because it was the, you know, early release of the Mark 6, but regardless, you know, if there are any problems, Will would take care of, you know, you under his warranties, you know, under that incredible warranty. So that's definitely a good thing to know. Overall, I actually do think it's a pretty fantastic knife. If the fit and finish was just a little bit better, and I think his newer stuff is, then, you know, this is a top-notch knife for sure. Whether it matches up with, you know, the quality of some other like crazy customs like this Les Vuri, you know, like, probably not. You know, I mean, Les is an amazing artist, but Will in his own right, I think is pretty innovative, and you know, he does some really good stuff with his knives. He's got, on this one, I don't think he's got that feature. Yeah, this is an older one, so he's got like an integral lock bar over travel thing on his on some of his frame locks. This obviously, you know, the scale will serve as an over travel thing, but yeah. So anyway, I think Will has already come into his own for sure, but still has a little bit of ways to go, and will continue to grow as, I think, a really, really good knife maker. He's definitely a really, really good guy. based on my experience and conversations with him. So yeah, I definitely look forward to what's going to be continuing to come out of his shop. And yeah, I think that's it. So Will Moon Mk6, let me know what you guys think on the comments down below. And thanks for watching as always, and I'll see you guys on the next vid. Take care. Bye.